Juan's presentation earlier today. So perhaps we should apologize that we should have asked for a change of order, perhaps, because we are introducing the description of the general project, which was a course for teacher training in gamification, a gamified course to teacher training in gamification. It's a project by the research group Realtic. I'm Christine Apple from the Universitat Oberta de Catalunya.
I'm Joan Tomàs Pujolà from the University of Barcelona, and Andrea Berrios, a student of us, couldn't make it because, you know, doctorate students should work and cannot, she couldn't come here today. You know, we are going to present, this project had different phases. We are going to present the part of the course that we designed. So the overview of our presentation would be, we'll deal a little bit with a part of the theory that we based our project on gamification and the game elements that we use. The different frameworks, but the one that we based on our project, it was the DMC, the dynamics, mechanics and components of Wordbacker Hunter, that we'll tell you later. The objective of the project, the methodology of the whole project that we are using is DBR, the same as the last presenter, and then we'll go into the details of the course and the analysis of all these elements that we use on the design phase and on the use that the teachers, trainees did with them and their perception of using all these elements. And finally, we'll draw a conclusion. You see, there are different frameworks when in the designing phase, but of all of the main ones, we decided to go for the dynamic mechanics and components of Wordbacker Hunters, because these three are kind of an overall of the other ones. So we thought that that was an easier way for our design. So we opted for those ones, and you'll see. These dynamics, mechanics, and components are different phases of an abstract concept. These are more abstract, and these are more concrete. And what they do is that in the process, they are connected. So if you're using points, probably the mechanic that you are referring is competition, and then you are related to a dynamic that is kind of the relationship or the progression both ways. So in that way, we could analyze, or we could implement all these components, mechanics, and dynamics in our first part of this project, that it was the online course. So the online of this study, of this little study of this big project, is we wanted to outline which DMC were implemented in the course design. So that's the first phase, which ones are we going to use and how we are going to apply in the course, in the online course, and then describe how they were applied and how the teachers, trainees felt or report how they perceive after the first phase of the course. You see, the whole project that we use this methodology that's design-based research, and the main idea is, well, this methodology is used when you want to innovate or to incorporate any technology in a process, in a educational process. So the two main ideas are that the first one is that they are help, or you design an innovation with the help of the more expert person. Together. So you design that. And the second part is that you do it in an iterative, way. So you do a double way, a cycle. So here what we are going to see is only the first phase. And now we are in the moment of beginning the second, the iterative part of the project. Okay? So this is the phases of the course. It started in October 16 and finished right in June 17. So we are in the middle of the last study stuff. And what we are going to report here is only the two first boxes, the online course and the F2F. There was a face-to-face session where they started to plan with tutors the implementation of the gamified proposal, and now at the end of May they presented the final sessional results.
But these two parts were gamified as well,
so here we are, and we are going to tell you about the online course that we designed. There was a narrative, and for us the narrative was very, very important. So it was a gameless galaxy, that was called. It was performed in Moodle, but it was a game galaxy, and a vaccine that can cure difficulties in language learning has been developed. So your mission, their mission was to travel to Gamelets to get the formula for this vaccine. So here, let's see if it works. Yeah, here you have all the planets. They had to go through all the planets. Here there are the groups that they did in the space shuttle. That it was the first part where they had to meet together. They didn't know each other. They were teachers of language teachers at the official school of languages. But they were English teachers, French teachers, German teachers, Russian,
Italian.
And Italian.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And the main thing that they were teachers of adults. So we didn't. They weren't teachers of secondary or primary. It was mainly higher education.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So here there was the progress bar where all when the teams were moving forward to the different planets, they were moving. Here in the last planet before to go back to the shuttle, the space shuttle. So that was kind of, you see, in every planet they had to go. Here we have a planet, and they had a lot of, well, they had a couple of tasks that they had to collaborate, and in a gamified way. There was always an alien here, and the alien in each planet speaks a different language. So they were hooked very quickly because they were language teachers, and they start answering like the alien's language. So it was kind of a motivating way. Here we have the session. So it was the blended course, and here we have the face-to-face session where they finish the part that we couldn't do outline. So we dealt with design of a gamified course and all these sort of elements. So that was the two parts: the online course plus the face-to-face. And of course, here we started with the analysis of the first question. Here's a kind of a visual representation of the DMC. You see the circles are the dynamics, the boxes are the mechanics, and the words are the components. And they are all interrelated, intertwined. And that's what was the most difficult thing, just to integrate all these elements, all these components, to make the gamified experience successful. We work quite hard in that respect. We work a lot with the narrative, because we thought it was important. The narrative, as you can see, is the red block. And the red block is the one that glues all the elements together, the dynamics, the mechanics, and the components. They have, or they got the coherent part of all the gamified experience. And one of the things that we insisted, we had a little bit of competition, but we didn't want to go into the typical PBL points, badges, and leaderboards, so we tried to avoid that. And we emphasize more on the competition part.
Collaboration part.
Collaboration part, sorry. Competition part, no, collaboration part. As you can see, well, what we did here is that we increased the important parts in a bigger font size, and that's what you see. One of the things that they appreciated a lot is that they work together, and they could, help each other with all the tasks. In every single planet, they had to get a code, that code was the one to help them to get the vaccine. And the only way is that in the last planet, in the face-to-face session, they put together all the efforts of all the coaches and they were able to get the vaccine of the languages.
And in fact, we kept the narrative in a way that Juan Tomás showed up on the face-to-face session dressed up as the commander of the space shuttle. So we had all the dress and
so we kept all the narrative all the time. And that was something that they appreciated quite a lot. And well, so shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to move.
Oh,
No?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Right. So, so far we've talked about the design phase, but we collected data in the way of pre-questionnaires, post-questionnaires, and also observations in the classrooms. So what we're going to do here is we just picked a few aspects that we thought were standing out, and we had comments from the students. So one of them was all the elements that helped keep together the narrative. So we had aliens, the alien languages, planets, and the comments that we got from the participants, the teacher trainees, were that they helped them get immersed. These are sort of literal quotes from the questionnaires. They helped you get immersed in the game. Brilliant, all details carefully taken care of, make you get involved, or fun idea to help you get into character. We also had role cards. The students, as John Tomás said, we made a conscious effort to put an emphasis on collaboration. So students got together in groups in spaceships. So they were crew members of a spaceship. Each spaceship had roughly four members. And then each of the crew members had a role, and we distributed role cards telling them what they should be doing. So their opinions about the role cards, they force you to distribute tasks and stimulate participation. They help you get better organized and feel part of the group. But some they didn't help much, or good idea, but could have been better implemented. So we got a bit of mixed messages on the use on the role cards. So this is one of the things that we are making a note on how to improve for the next edition. In terms of the progress bar, we showed you this before. We had the planets at the top, and then the spaceships were placed under the planets where we were working or playing at that particular moment. It's good to see the progression, fun. It encourages you to continue traveling. Very interesting. I like that the progress is so visual. Related to the time, we did introduce a number of unexpected events. As you do sometimes in games, you expect things to happen that you expect to find unforeseen things. So, for example, the third planet was locked, and in order to unlock it, you should have been through certain activities which were not compulsory in the first planet. The feedback we got from the participants was very negative about this. They felt there's a feeling of deceit. It's really unfair change of rules. If an activity is optional, it should not be made compulsory. So this is one of the things that we've been thinking about. It is, of course, we thought, well, maybe perhaps the elements of surprise work differently in a context in which there's also some academic pressure to complete successfully. So if you need to get a good result, a certificate, then it's no fun if you all of a sudden you have an additional obstacle. It is true as well that most of our elements of surprise were related to time management. And you can imagine busy teacher trainees who are also teaching they have jobs and families, and they're doing their carefully planned activities. And how do you combine this with the gaming environment where you should be able to react when unforeseen things happen? You can't plan for this. So there's a bit of a tension here. We also, although we made a conscious effort to move away from PBL and we wanted to concentrate on narrative, we did have a few elements and a few individual tasks. So we introduced medals, but the way we did this is that we didn't tell them when there would be a medal. So for some activities, it was announced when it was over that there was a medal awarded for Yeah, so some of the, here we got very varied comments. That's why we included this here, because we got comments from I was thrilled to get them, very motivating, to not bad, semi-motivating, but could do without them. They don't say anything to me, or I don't like them at all. So we're not sure what to do about this. We need to look, we're also interviewing the participants, so we're hoping to get more data and more of an insight into what's going on here. Finally, and the central, what we see as really the central central dynamics of the course was collaboration. So these are the icons for the spaceships that represented the group work. And very positive comments here. A lot of fun. Working in a team makes it possible to share the good and the bad. An interesting one, I honestly don't think I would have had such a great time had I not previously known the other members of my group. So some of these teachers were working in the same institution, and the key to the good relationship in the group was the fact that they were seeing each other face to face, even though this was an online course. I think some of the challenges that we were finding also related to online education. Fully online education.
One thing I want to say here is that they had the typical forum in Moodle, but most of teachers, they passed their telephone numbers and started doing WhatsApps at the same time as they're doing the forum. So it was extended to a kind of a more trying to find other ways of communication.
And in fact, we found that the forum, which was originally intended for the group interaction, became more of a social space. And the limitations of the communication tools in Moodle made students move away and look for WhatsApp or other ways of more immediate ways of communication, means of communication. And group work was the best part of the course. So positive, overall, positive comments about collaboration, except for when it came to management, time management, where you don't have full control of your time management when you have to share the activities with other people. So I'm coming to the last slide, if we're doing well on time. So basically, we found that the key for participant engagement and motivation was that the DMC contributed towards the development of the game-like narrative. And then that the teacher trainees were leading actors in a deep gamification experience. So they were going through an experience which then they had to design for their students. The most positive aspects that came out, that stood out in the surveys, was collaboration and the narrative components, as we mentioned already. And the most negative reactions were the lack of control over time management because of group work. So I think that this is not unique of the gamified experience, but more related to group work. And the deception that they felt. We have to say that we were quite surprised about the intensity of emotions during the course. We designed some of the actions to get some surprise, but we felt that when there was surprise, there was much more surprise than we anticipated. There was moments of high degrees of anxiety if part of the technology didn't work. And as the team, the designing team and of the team of facilitators were taken aback, we did expect it, but not to such a degree.
Yeah.
So basically the unexpected events, we've been thinking a lot about this. How does this work differently if it's a game environment or an educational environment where academic constraints and pressures are present, and whether you can play with these elements in the same way or we need to compromise or find a solution to this. It was very clear to us that this is a multidisciplinary approach. Not only because we had to pay a lot of attention to the graphical design, so we had some graphical designers in the team, and we couldn't have done this without them. It was important for the metaphor, the environment, the spaceships and the aliens and the coherence overall. In terms of technology, we needed somebody who had experience with online learning to manage the communication online. The creative side, you cannot design such an experience on your own. There's a lot of meetings. There was eight of us meeting regularly to get the final result.
And in the design process, sometimes we change things while we were implementing them because of the reaction of the students. So some of the adjustments we had to do while doing the course, the online course.
Yeah. So we think that, well, we are getting ready for the second edition. So we are analyzing the results. We've got plenty of data from the surveys, from interviews and observations, and we are already implementing some changes because the second edition is starting in October 17th. So
they are getting a certificate for that course that was run together with the Institute of Education of the University of Barcelona, and they're going to get a certificate. But there's a voluntary process of group work that now we are forming of the teachers that they want to do the iterative part of that, what we talk about first. So we are quite happy with all the results at the moment.
And busy.
And busy.
With all the work that remains.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.